everybody, and welcome to another show. Well, we're going to play this in my ear right now because my guest, still waiting for her to log in here so we can have the guest. So anyway, how are you?
Fantastic. How about you?
Fantastic. Get out of here. Sorry, babysitting dogs. I don't need them in here. I got better things to do. Anyway, yes, I guess some important information here. I don't think I mentioned it any time before. All Out Paranormal is the cover story on the American Paranormal magazine for the month of March and April. And there we are. We are on the cover, and the cover story, a 3-page article that we have in there. So please check it out. Tell us what you think. And you can read it online, or you can order the magazine as well. And right there on our website, American Paranormal Magazine, just click on it, and you'll be good to go. And once I get the magazines ordered, all of us will sign one and we'll give it away as one of our gifts at the end of one of the shows. So anyway, I don't know what's going on here. Oh, wait a minute. Here she is.
Oh.
Woohoo. Let me bring you up right quick. Dun, dun, dun.
Do you want to play the promo too?
No, that's all right. We'll just go from here. Thanks, Dave. Hi, Martha. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, good. I got worried there for a second.
Yeah, I hear you. I came out and I'm out in our camper. Actually, it's my office, and with the storms out here, our internet is through satellite, so it rains, no internet.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only bad thing about that. But anyway, good that we've got you here now. So this is awesome. Because I was just I'm going, well, I can fill up an hour and a half of me talking. So if something
No, I was going to be here. I told you I'd be here, so I'll be here. Just a quick change of plans.
Well, first I want to thank you for being here. I've been looking forward to this, and this just your bio and stuff I've read is like, wow. I thought I did some really cool stuff in my life.
Right.
Because I retired.
Sometimes, go ahead. I was going to say, sometimes it's like, who is this? When they read it at a conference, it's like, that's not me.
Yeah, I retired from law enforcement in 2019, and I'm fine with that. I wouldn't go back.
No, well, I would like to go back in Texas and reserve with a reserve. I don't need to be paid, just reserve with a department and work some of their cold cases. One of the smaller departments where they don't really have the time to devote to some of those. Yeah, I would love to do that.
That would be awesome. Give a shout out right quick. Hello, Tom, and hello, Kathy. Thanks for being here. It's going to be a great show. So what I'd like is give a little synopsis of yourself, your background, and I mean, it's fascinating. If you would, please.
Okay, well, I could tell you then in 1972, when I graduated from high school, that's when I began working professionally as a photographer. And that led to all sorts of things. I was still in Memphis, Tennessee. My folks were in Dallas. I spent that year before I came to Dallas shooting the rock concerts that Mid-South Productions put on their first year. So, I mean, Frank Zappa, David Bowie, a bunch of the British bands. We, did the whole hangout thing. I'd shoot the concert. We'd go to the bar closed. I'd go to the hotel, party all night. And at 18, I just kind of sat in the corner and watched all of them because back in the 70s, I mean, but, although I will say to Frank Zappa, he's probably one of the most intelligent people I have ever spoken to. And he was the very first concert that Mid-South Productions did, and they left him at the convention center. So they took the band and everybody to the bar, but Frank Zappa. So everybody, whoever was still left there, it's like, okay, who has the best car? Now, at 18 years old, in 1972, the first car I bought was a 1969 Ford Thunderbird with the
Nice.
suicide doors. That was the last year that they made them with the suicide doors. It had the big motor. It had everything. And that was my car at 18, my first car I bought. So he rode with me. So,
There's a memory right there. That is so cool.
so I went through that phase. I ended up coming to Dallas and did a little bit of this and that, but I kept doing my photography and working with bands as they were, performing live. And probably to this day, if I were to walk up to a stage with my camera, I'd just slip right back into that mode without even realizing it. And then eventually it went to TV. I did some producing, directed some cable TV shows. I got into journalism and photojournalism, and from that I ended up in law enforcement and working for the state as a child death investigator, working specializing, like I said, in some of the over 20 years of crimes against children. But then I also worked with a militia, sovereign citizen type thing. That was one of my specialties. And then when I went to the state, it was with the working the child death investigations. But the paranormal I've been doing off and on. I started my team after I retired from the police department and went to work for the state because I wasn't in East Texas anymore. It was kind of hard to, at that time, I didn't want any of the defense attorneys trying to throw crazy stuff out there. I'd have to try to defend, when it came to my credibility on my any felony cases that I had. So I've just done a little bit of everything.
I guess so.
Anybody can do it. You get interested in something, just go do it. I was on a volunteer fire department back in the 80s. I'm back on the fire department again. Back in the 80s, I was head of our dive team. And now I just, kind of do whatever I have to be around when the call comes in, whether it's firefighting, grass fighting, medical call, whatever.
That's fantastic.
So,
That is
yeah,
fantastic.
and then I write a little bit here and there. So, I still write, of course. Just, whatever I feel like doing. I can't tell you about next year what I'm going to be wanting to do. So, I got back a week ago from a cruise, the first cruise in 21 years. And when I decided to do that with a friend, I come in to my husband and go, oh, by the way, I'm going to Mexico on a cruise next year in 6 months. Hope you don't mind. So he's really good. So, and he can take care of himself. He was Army, so he knows how to cook. So,
cook. Who does that for you? I love to cook.
Well, I do more than he does now, but he can do it just fine.
Your hands are cold. I'm wearing shorts and she keeps putting her hand on my leg. Her hands are freezing. Well,
I'm trying to keep my...
When you were growing up, when did it first come across you, the paranormal? Was that at a young age or when you got older or?
I was probably around 4. I was around 4 when I had my first experience. And with that one, all these years, I thought it was strictly something paranormal, something with the spirit, until talking several years ago with a really good friend of mine who's been an abductee for several times. She's was with MUFON, and in fact, I think they're doing a documentary about her right now. Somebody is putting one together, and we were talking, and when I was describing what I saw and what was with me, last time I saw it was when I was 19. I saw it, multiple times. She got to thinking that maybe it was more of an alien type thing because it fit a creature she had seen on a ship. Her name is Jane Nelms, Nelms. She's from England. She's almost 80 now. Her dad was a futurist for the royal family, and she was in the 40s, I probably, like a Cirque du Soleil type performer in Africa. She's there by herself with a team. She had a Maasai tribesman as her bodyguard, and she's real tall. And actually took up arms with the village she was in when one of the other tribes came and tried to kill everybody. So she's fascinating too. But she has very, very deep experience with the alien stuff. In fact, her husband, I was a private investigator with him with his business. He had me and he had one other investigator, and that investigator was Daryl Sims, who was on TV as an alien hunter. So I got to know Daryl Sims through private investigating with a friend of mine's business. So so you're probably wondering what it was. It was something that's very tall that I would kind of describe as our image of a druid, very, very tall. It was very dark. It was a shadow, but a solid, solid dark shadow. And it was cloaked like you would imagine. And then there was no face. It was darker. The face was actually darker than the other. And it was just in the corner in my bedroom. And there were a couple other things that happened. Of course, I woke up, I screamed when I saw everything. My father runs in, and I was wide awake and did what parents do a lot of times with their children. They just say, "Oh, it's just a dream," and they kind of write it off, but it's not always a dream. The last time I saw it was 2 nights in a row in Dallas. I had moved from Memphis, and I stayed for a couple of months maybe with my folks. And I was in a bedroom that had 2 twin beds, and one was right by the bedroom door in the hall. And 2 nights in a row, one I woke up, the other I was not asleep. I watched the same druid thing literally come in the hall, stop at the door, look in my direction, and then it came into the room. It sat down on the edge of the bed by the door and turned around. Turned around, and it sat there. It never frightened me. I almost had the feeling of protection. And back then I didn't have a clue about a lot of things. I had a lot of experience, but I didn't have a lot of training or mentorship or other people I had talked to. So when I was talking to Jane Nelms, why she thought maybe it was possibly alien is she has been on the ship with the hybrid children in the nursery, and more than once. And when she was up there, this figure that fit my description came into the nursery and looked around. But what she had asked me was, did it walk on feet or did it kind of glide like just a few inches or so, up from the ground? And that's what the thing did that I saw when it came into the room. The other times it was always stationary. But those 2 nights when I was 19, that's exactly what it did. It just glided on in. So I don't know what it is. I have no idea, but Like I said, I'd always thought it was something to do with paranormal spirit or something. Don't know what it was, who it is, or anything. But
That's
she's
really
the one that gave me the description of what a possibility. So I
right.
don't know.
That's really awesome. We do have a couple questions for you here. First one's from Tom.
Okay.
It says, "What's your favorite place that you have investigated?"
It has to be the one I'm writing the book series on. The one I've been to many times is Haunted Hill House in Mineral Wells. I was just there this weekend for an event. In fact, I was on Portals to Hell when they went to the house. I was over there. It's just I've been, I haven't been to a lot of the big, places that everybody wants to go that a million people have been to. That's really not my interest so much.
Mm-hmm.
And Haunted Hill House is a paranormal research facility more than anything else, and that's what they try to keep it there for. People will go there for family events, but that's ultimately what it's there for. So people can come in because there are so many things that are linked to that house. You just keep peeling back layers and layers and layers of history and ancient things on outside. I mean, you have paranormal stuff just coming through, like passing through. You have the stuff that stays all the time, and some of the stuff that stays all the time doesn't stay all the time. It may go to somebody's house with them, especially if they steal something. So, it may follow, and that's happened. That's happened. When they opened up there's one bathroom that was sealed up for over 50 years that there had been a murder-suicide in, and they actually have a historian who's a historian for Parker County and for another city, and she's a historian for the house, so she has been able to locate and pull a lot of records. We have birth records, death records, a whole wide variety of things for the house and for the people at the house. So we have, first, middle, last names, date of deaths, and so on. But that, no, look at that. I got sidetracked myself. But there's a bunch of stories with that bathroom, and I can't even remember because it's not sealed up anymore. In fact, when Portals to Hell was there, and cameras were not rolling, Jack got grabbed and it freaked him out while he was in there. Unfortunately, they didn't have the cameras on. They were kind of showing him around a little bit for that. But that is the only location I've been to where you have constant EVPs, audio stuff. Things are happening literally every day, and it could be at any time of the day and almost at a set time, sometimes as if on cue over there. It's a riot over there. With that stuff, there's portals there. We think we have possibly located a few of the areas where there may be portals, and the portals, come, go kind of thing. There's basement over there. There's tunnels to the house. There's murders with the house. There's you name it, it's there. There's even alien. And lately, people have been seeing a giant. They're calling it a giant wolf, like 2 or 3 times the size of a normal black wolf, coming down from the mountain that's behind there, which is also their property, and running through the backyard. Teams have been out there, and I've seen some videos of them. Usually it's guys. They are just hauling butt to get back in the house, and they're all stomping and running, and their security cameras pick it up, and you can hear like something running up behind them. When Paranormal Declassified was filming their episode there's a camper in the back that Sonny and Kathy stay in because people leave in the middle of the night. And so they had taken a break from filming, and they were out back, and they saw somebody come. Now, the woods are very dense and very hard to go through. They're full of cactus, and the cactus is so big back there that is like tree trunk size, and the trunks of the cactus. And depending on the time of year, you really can't, get through it. And so they were out back, and they saw some guy come through the woods and kind of stop at the edge. They thought it was Sonny, and so they're waving at Sonny because Sonny and Kathy own the house. And Sonny was in the camper the whole time. And so there's no telling what that was. We don't know what's, there's all sorts of speculation with this wolf figure that people have seen for probably about the last 2 or 3 months. It just all of a sudden starts showing up. So that is one place that's probably tops everything. There's a couple other places that I've been. There's some places that I've investigated privately that are pretty interesting. In fact, one is if it hasn't been sold, it's actually for sale, and it's a house in Sulphur Springs, Texas. And somebody who'd been captain of CID with the sheriff's department bought a house that had actually been moved, and it was a fairly small frame house. And they went and didn't just restore it, but he probably tripled at least the size of it. I mean, it's a huge, beautiful place now.
Oh.
And things were happening when he was building it. But he found stuff on the shiplap, like the names of the people who built, like the father and his son and his father that built a house, and they paid $10,000 for it in 1910. Found things like that on the shiplap that he saved and added to the house. So the man who built the house was hanging around the house for a while, and he took a liking to Walt, and
There we go.
then other things started showing up. Some of the crew got hurt. Some of them would be there and hear fights and different things going on, and they'd leave and never come back. So it took them a while to get it finished. And the last time I was there, they had so much activity that they had bought at an estate sale. They bought almost a full house full of antiques from somebody that's from an older man who the things have been in their house for generations. And after they put that stuff in the house, everything started happening. So he had it listed for sale. Furniture, I mean, everything, house and furniture, total package. He didn't want to move, but his wife was like, ultimatum, we sell or else. So, and it's been a couple of months since I've talked to him, but I've been, keep in touch with him for a couple of years now with what's going on. I've been out there, more time. In fact, I have some of the furniture from that house last time I went over there. It was because he wanted me to pick up some furniture. So that was my last year or two. People call me about items, and then they hesitate, and I go, you want me to come get it, don't you? And they go, oh, would you please? I go, okay. So things come here and they're like neutralized. So
let's see here. Hello, Kim. Hello, Evelyn. Let's see what we got here. Oh, Kathy would like to know, do you think the wolf is a shapeshifter?
Well, that's also one of the thoughts is shapeshifter, skinwalker. And we say that because that land was one of the areas that we had indigenous people in Texas. There is an ancient being that is a protector of the property. And Kathy and Sonny are pretty much seen as protectors of the property. Kathy is, she is part Cherokee. And so she seems to have like a relationship with this ancient being there. And so that's crossed our mind too. Shapeshifter, skinwalker. I will tell you, when we were there for the event this past weekend, Natalie Jones, who's the CEO of Paraflix, Natalie was there, and they have put a bed upstairs in Toby's room. Toby is like the resident, demon type thing. You can always tell if you watch any of their Facebook lives, you'll hear him. He has like a real, almost artificial sounding lizardy kind of voice, the way he does his hisses or growls. Then I recognize it. So I always know, this is because I hear it audibly. It's the same audibly as if you pick it up on a device. It's Toby, no question. So they put an antique bed frame and a bed up there. And a couple people tried to sleep up there with sleeping bags, but they don't ever make it. So Natalie went up there because Natalie spent the night. I spent the night. Donna McCauley, the historian, and the three of us were in the house. And then Maria Elena Santos Kemp, who's our psychic medium, she was outside in Priscilla's room. So she wasn't actually in the house. She was outside in another room that it has its own activity. And so while Natalie was up there, I heard her coming down. She was up there for an hour and a half maybe, but she said she fell asleep, and then something woke her up, and she saw this thing, brown furry thing, crawling on the floor, that crawled over to her and was kind of like sniffing around, like, what is this thing? And she had thought it was Toby, but and it's not Toby. Toby doesn't look like that. And she just kind of, swished it away, like, go away, go away. And it went away. It was curious. So I don't know if that's what people are seeing, because it fit. But she said it was bipedal, but it was on all fours. So I don't know if this is a different creature. I know I was sitting upstairs one night with Sonny, the owner, in the room they call Emily's room, where I could see into Toby's room. And I think Dylan may have been there. He has MP Paranormal. And I think we were just sitting up there, and I have these night vision that I use the Skywatch, but I can use them in the house as well. And I was seeing some stuff going on in Toby's room, but all three of us saw this figure. We'd had a REM pod on the floor right in the middle between the side of the landing upstairs where Toby's room was and where we were. Mm-hmm. And we saw this creature that was almost like kind of hulky, kind of, with no neck and just big bulky thing. It would not come all the way to the REM pod. We didn't know what it was. It's not something common for there. It's something new. And so we still don't know what it is. And that could have been what came to visit Natalie. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But that was a new thing. Maybe. But it could have been, like I said, it could have been whatever it is everybody's seeing.
That's, wow.
Yeah, it is.
That's, yeah. We'll have to, I'd make a trip to go there in a heartbeat. So, absolutely.
It's one of those places, like, I'm used to it. And I think it usually doesn't like law enforcement. Greg Lawson, who is a detective for Travis County Sheriff's Department, mm-hmm. I think the first or second year they bought the house, he went and spent the night. He took his canine with him. His dog's a cadaver dog. And they were in the house by themselves. And he was getting rocks, like little pebbles being thrown at him from upstairs that night. And he was chasing breaking glass, sounds of breaking glass, like all night long, all around the house. And he couldn't find anything. And then we went outside with his dog the next day looking for several things. We're both still kind of working on, there's an unsolved murder that we have some pretty good ideas of suspects and things that happened. And more of that information will come out. Kathy and I are working on my second book, which is going to be on the deaths and the murders at the house. But his dog, they've had the house since 18, so at least 3 years. It's been at least 3 years since his dog was there. And unfortunately, where they used to sometimes say you could bring in your dog, especially a paranormal team, they don't recommend it anymore because his dog ended up with PTSD from that one night. And Greg will never, ever, ever ever spend the night in the house by himself. He will with other people, and he plans on coming back, and I'll be there. There'll be several of us working on that one case, but he will never go in there and spend the night alone. So, but
Wow.
I have a bunch of times. So far I haven't been run out. I've been surprised a couple times on things, but when I've stayed by myself, but I've been there all night, so I'll do it again.
I would. I've been to some places where people have never made it through the night, but if I'm there, I'm staying. That's why I'm there.
Let me tell you, there are teams that come in that house, and the funniest, of course, are always going to be the all male teams, and they think the kitchen is a safe place. Really, nowhere is. And of course, that's command center. That's where you can see they have about 22 cameras set up.
Mm-hmm.
Plus they have some cameras that are their security feed, and about another 4 or 5 or so of that. And they'll sleep in the kitchen on the floor under the table. I was there one. I mean, really? Your paranormal team, they go sleep in their cars. They've had people pull up to the house in the back to park, and they won't get out of their car. They just leave. They won't get out. There was one team, after they finished the room outside, it seemed like a safe room. It's attached to the house, but it's outside the house. There was one team with a bunch of big guys, too. They were all sleeping in there on the floor and the bed, just on top of each other. But the best was, I was there, because Sonny and Kathy stay in the camper when they're there, because people will leave in the middle of the night and leave everything wide open. And so I was there on one of the weekends, and Sonny got up, because they get up in the morning, they go get fancy donuts, for the people that rent the place for the night. And so he was laughing when he got back to the camper. He said when he went around the corner to get donuts, the whole paranormal team was sleeping on the front porch. Sleeping on the front porch. There'll be some teams, they end up in that kitchen watching those cameras all night, and they never leave the kitchen. And they go pee in pairs. No. Well, I think what happens there, it's really funny, but I think a lot of it, it's the young, well, it's not always younger teams. A lot of times it is, but they see stuff on TV, or they go to, somewhere where there's a lot of other people. But when they get to this house, which is a real serious spot, it's real activity. It's not really for the faint of heart, and it's really not for a beginner necessarily. Mm-hmm. But they have all kinds of equipment there for them to use. They teach them how to use equipment if they don't know how. So they get a lot of stuff when they stay. And I think when they're confronted with the actual realization that, crap, this is real. This isn't just something on TV. It's real.
Exactly.
It's just, it's or some people come, they've seen, there's been this one clip that's been on, I don't know how many shows on YouTube so many times. It's got this girl that's yanked out of the bed so fast. They were, Kathy was doing a tour at the time with the people that were going to be there, because she'll do a history tour and give them all the information. And she was kind of leaning back, sitting on this bed, semi-provoking. And one of the things there's a lot of rules I have, like no drinking, no doing dope, no Ouija boards, no provoking. And they have a lot of rules over there, trying to keep it somewhat professional. And, right. But she was doing a little bit of like little minor provoking type thing. And she got, if you hadn't seen it, she got jerked. Let me get that right word. She got jerked off that bed so fast. I mean, make your head spin. That's how fast it was. And then her boyfriend went back in, and of course she got up off the floor and flew out of the room. And then her boyfriend came back in, oh, you want to pick on a female, blah, blah. And he got kind of punched in the stomach and shoved into the wall. And like, so some people think that happens all the time, and they think they're going to come get, pulled off a bed. They're going to get something like that to happen. And, they're the only ones that's ever happened to like that. I know I had one night with another event that was there that I had, I was scratched, I was bitten, and then I had about 90 minutes of lost time right after that. That for me, I had no lost time, but everybody said that I was in this one room, I was looking at my phone, and later it's like, in fact, I said this weekend to her, it's like, why didn't y'all go in? Because she said she went in and she said that we're all doing something in the kitchen. And of course, she said you were looking at your phone, but I didn't say anything to her. And that's not something I would normally do, because I don't usually look at, when we're doing something at my phone, especially stare at it without moving for 90 minutes.
Right.
I thought she was joking and pulling my leg, but enough people that were there told me that I was in there for 90 minutes. So I don't know where I was for that 90 minutes.
Wow.
So, I've had other stuff at other places, a few of them out here, but not like that.
Right. And we do the same thing when the rules, just like you were saying, when we do an event or anything, we have basically the same thing. And Kim just said, that provoking crap is just disrespectful. And that's the way I look at it too. We coined the phrase ghosts are people too. You don't want anybody coming up and yelling and screaming in your face and asking you to do something. What makes you think that they want us to do that to them? And look what happens.
Well, I know. And for a good example was this weekend, they had an event once or twice a year. She'll do a tour. They did a day tour for about 3 hours where people could come in for the day and just kind of wander around the house. And we were there, if they had any questions or anything like that. And she would tell them the history if they asked, because there's people that want to go, but they're afraid to go in the dark or at night. They'll only go by in the daytime. Then we had a little over 100 people there at night. And the way they do those investigations, you have one of us in every room, and they spend so many minutes and they go room to room. So you have small groups of about 6 people, and there's some kind of equipment in every room for them. So we do that. And then when they all get through, they can go through again. And like the last 30 minutes, they opened it up. So whoever's left, they can just kind of wander around how they want for 30 minutes. But one lady came in, she saw K2 sitting, because there were several different things in the room I was in. And she did the thing like you see on TV. Well, if you're show me your, she was asking for a performance instead of trying to communicate. And I just looked at her and I go, that is not going to work here. That's not going to work, especially tonight. There are too many people here, and it's more of a performance. But people get really good interaction, when it's a small group, and they're trying to interact, not ask them to perform for them. Do things just as more of a performance rather than as an interaction.
Right.
And let me if you're this person or that person. There's all sorts of things you can say where it's not just looking for a performance. You go into the scratch room, and it's set up like a poker room, and it was called. There's names on the rooms there that were given those names before they bought the house, and so they just kept those. But Willie, who was a former owner of the house, he was there when there was a brothel and a speakeasy. He likes to play poker. And so when you play poker, you leave a hand and you'll ask him, what do you want to do? And depending on what kind of, device or app or whatever they have, a lot of times Willie will tell you what he wants to do. And so he wasn't cooperating at another event. I don't even remember, but there was another event a few months ago And the other 3 or 4 people in the room were sitting there. So we just, I just would do crazy stuff for him because I was doing his hand. And he would lose every time. And the second he lost, and there was this one lady that won every time, he would call her an ugly name. You would hear this same ugly name come through every time she won. It's like, okay. I mean, that wasn't planned. So.
Oh,
that was pretty good.
We got a photo of Hill House. I'll have Dave bring it up so we can show it right quick. Waiting for him. Waiting. I can see. Okay.
Well, if I'm set up in my other spot, usually I have it as my backdrop. My green screen, but not today. Okay.
Man, in a heartbeat, I'd be there. Not a problem. That'd be awesome. So one of the questions that we've kind of do every show now is, what is your biggest oh shit moment out of, all the investigations and what you've done? Because most people have one that just, is out there more than anything else that they've ever encountered.
Oh, I have one of those. It again is tied back to the frickin' Hill House. So I was, and Toby. So I stay in the Axe room, which is up in the front, right by the front door and right by the stairs that go upstairs. I like to stay in there, keep the door open because I can hear everything. I hear the residual up and down the stairs, and I hear the residual like party going on in the living room. I'll hear the piano play. So I hear all sorts of things. So one night I was asleep and I woke to Toby hissing in my ear real loud. And I woke up enough to hear it, but I literally didn't react to it. I just kept my eyes closed and didn't skip a beat, went back to sleep. So he became like a child, how a child will poke at you, wanting to get a reaction out of you. Several months later, I was there, and I went and I laid down. I was wide awake. I just laid down, and as soon as I did, you might as well say that was Toby. He was right at my nose to nose. But he did it really loud where I know if I'd opened my eyes, I probably would have seen him. Instead, I did the same thing, no reaction, just rolled over and acted like I went to sleep. And that was the end of it. So when I was working on the book, I went and stayed there for several nights. I was there for several days. And I was there not to investigate, but there to see what it would have been like to live in the house with all this activity. And I was making note of it, right? So everything had been very, very calm at the house, very calm, just residual. So the second night, I had just shut the computer. I was totally relaxed, totally open because everything was so calm. And the second I did that, from upstairs came the loudest combination, hiss, roar, growl, yell, scream, everything you could think of, all combined in one. It was so loud, it literally rattled the house.
Oh, my God.
And that made my heart skip a beat a little bit. So I go up, and there's a curtain by the kitchen door, right? Or the kitchen door has a curtain on it. So I go and I throw that thing open, and I look up the stairs, and I just yell up there like, yeah, I heard you. So what? Pretty much is what it did. It's like, what do you want? I heard you. But that was the one time that the adrenaline just went crazy. So I'm going to go outside and just kind of sit on the porch, let the adrenaline settle, and I'm going to go back in, go to bed. And I had just been texting Kathy. So I called Kathy as I'm unlocking the door. And over there is a security camera with the audio and the video. So as I passed that, Sonny gets the notice for the video. And he says to Kathy, as I'm still trying to get out the door, that when I walk past, as I walk past, the EVP on the security camera was, look, Toby made her turn red. He'll get her later.
Oh my
It's like,
gosh.
I was like, I know that was like, oh, okay. And it unnerved Kathy so much that she asked Julie, who's a friend of hers, and her son goes by Ryan, and he's like a paid investigator. If somebody's too afraid to be there by themselves, Ryan will come and help them and stir up stuff and everything. But they came, and he was so disappointed because I did not want to change the dynamics in the house, because I said, you can't investigate. And they were at the house for a few hours. And then, he went to work, they went home, and then I was, back in there by myself. And that was the next time I went upstairs, because I saw the door in Josh's room. There's a small door in the wall that goes into the back, where Joshua actually would have been, with the fake fireplace and all the unfinished stuff. And while it doesn't literally lock, it will stay shut. You push it shut, you can jump around, you can bang around, and it will not open, and it stays closed for weeks, and there's no airflow up there. And so it had been closed that night, and I saw it was open, so I went up there to close it, because I'm usually the one that goes up there if I'm around, because everybody else is afraid to. But as I did, I had to pass. I knew I was passing the other security camera as you come up the stairs, and that's where Toby's room is. So as I'm going around, I just asked Toby a question, like, were you the one that made that sound last night? And I went around, I shut the door, and it wasn't until I watched the playback several times, because it was already open when I got back downstairs and looked at the monitors. It was back open again. And it opened up the second I walked out of that room. It opened right back up. And when you start looking at the background, you see some shadows come in with me when I go into the room. And I'm the only one at the house. And then when I go back out, the shadows turn and follow me out of that room. So that was the other, yeah, okay. And when I asked that question, Sonny also got the other EVP that when I asked if Toby, and I said, Toby, did you do that? And the immediate response was, yep. So you
That's
just
great.
never know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had a question, but I got into listening to her, and now I forgot what I was going to ask you.
Kathy wants to
Oh
know
yeah,
yours.
Kathy has a question. How many rooms is in the home?
But, let me see, it's about 3,500 square feet. You have upstairs, 3 rooms upstairs, and of course the landing, and then downstairs, here's the last kitchen, living, passage, new one, shadow. About 10 rooms downstairs or so, not counting the bathrooms. There's 5, well, 6 if you count Toby's room now. You have 6 places with beds where you can sleep, and you have 4 bathrooms in the house. So
Big place.
Yeah, it is. It is a big place.
Yeah, it's big. It's, if you see the side, looking like the picture, like most of us do from the front, you don't realize how big it is. There's also a basement we're pretty sure where the basement is. We'd like to open. There's tunnels from it to the because it's catty corner to the Baker Hotel in Mineral Wells. And same thing with the tunnels, is to find the access point to those.
That would be just. That would expand it so much. I mean, the activity would just really go through the roof.
Yeah.
You find that and the access back and forth. Holy smokes. That would be awesome.
Oh, I know. Well, I
So
know, and there's things that just, I mean, mm,
yeah, yes,
yeah,
yeah. The cat's in here now.
He's been in and out.
Yes, he keeps
hey,
walking over the dog back here.
Oh,
Oh, there we go. Holy
that
smokes!
doesn't even count though. The lot next door, which is part of their property, there was a house over there that ended up being a drug house.
huh?
And with that drug house, it has a basement that's hidden. The house is gone. City illegally removed the house. When you're looking, there's the picture. So to the left of the house is the empty lot. And
Hmm.
we know there was a shootout between the police department and the drug people. And supposedly at least 5 people were shot and killed. You won't find that written anywhere. You won't find it in any records um,
Mm.
at all. But this was information that we received from one of the mayors and also from a constable who at one time used to be the chief of police. So, so we know of those 5 or 6 murders on the empty lot, and that would have been a drug-related thing. So there is no telling what else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so
No
much
kidding.
over
Wow.
there.
So, do you have some sort of insight or ability? Are you an empath or anything like that?
Yeah, I am. I'm an empath. I didn't realize growing up what the heck I was. I just knew at the time I was around anybody happy or sad and they were crying, or especially if they were crying, whether it's happy or sad, I'm bawling right with them. It's like, what? I'm like, well, what's wrong with me back then? Why am I doing that? And of course, through the years, I figured that out. So I'm a pretty strong empath. And it used to be that I pretty much could tell if something was there, not there, negative, positive, male, female. And with all the investigating I've done different places, that was pretty much what I relied on. But it's gotten so much stronger the last 7 or 8 years. So there's a little bit more to that. There's a little, the empath is a little bit stronger. The psychic is a little bit stronger. I call myself an empath, but when my husband and I've been married almost 37 years now. And in the beginning, when we were in our 30s and I tell him something, he used to say, well, how do you know? How do you know? And he finally quit asking maybe after 10 years. He's like, I don't know. I just know. It's the same thing. I just know something. I just know. And for example, he and I were down in New Orleans. We were staying in the French Quarter. And it turned out it was a weekend that their college football, like our Texas OU, was going on that weekend. And we were walking around. The hotel was just off of like Canal and Bourbon Street. And I said to him, we need to not be here. To me, it's always been common sense to me, but it was really more than common sense is what I've learned. And I said, we need to not be out here tonight. So about 10 o'clock, we went back to the hotel, and we were just right around the corner. But the way it was inside the place we were staying, you couldn't hear anything outside. And that was the night that there were 5 New Orleans PD, the shootout where the 5 New Orleans officers were shot.
Oh
It
my
was right
gosh.
there, a block from the hotel, right where we would have been, at least if nothing else, walking back to the hotel. So
Right.
there's things like that I just get a thing and I'll tell somebody, and now they kind of listen to me a little bit more sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. It's like, whatever. And then it's they'll call and say, don't say I told you so. They go, why? You went and did it, didn't you? And it happened. Yes. So you have to have a sense of humor with this stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
For sure.
yeah, for sure. So, um, what I like asking this question too. It's kind of gotten redundant, but it's every guest I have on, I asked him, what one piece of advice would you give somebody that's new to the paranormal and wants to get in and start investigating? What piece of advice would you definitely give to that individual?
Not to investigate their own home, to get some education. Don't consider TV as your education, because TV is TV. Go to some conferences, listen to some speakers, listen to some podcasts, radio shows, read some books, find a mentor.
Yeah.
Don't, I had people tell me, that they don't do any of that. And if they get a call, they run over to the house immediately that they may investigate to go, whatever the person called and told them, they're run straight over there to prove that what they said is true. And I tell them, you need to be unbiased when you go over. You need to do a very in-depth interview before you even decide. Because with my team being East Texas Paranormal, I didn't think about SEO and the internet and Google when I came up with that name. I get all kinds of calls and emails, and I will say that probably 95% of them, there's not really anything paranormal there. Just, go into it with an open mind.
Yeah.
And to stay safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like we tell everybody, it's not television. It's not scripted. You're going to go into a place and it's not, you spend more time sitting there asking questions, walking around and taking pictures than you get activity. It's
exactly. Yeah, exactly. We go in and when I'm doing my presentations, and you'll get this. I tell them, you ask them all kinds of questions, personal questions. And I say, halfway through, I feel like I'm doing a bookend at the jail, because you're asking all the same kind of questions that you would if you were putting them in the jail. So, but they're all important things to know. And that's why it's important not to judge them and to stay unbiased.
Exactly. I'll never forget that now. That's exactly, I never put that together. And I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely.
You're doing a bookend. Yeah. I mean, all the same questions, everything. You ask the same things.
Yep, you do.
Or at least if you're trying, because, some people think it's kind of too personal, but really to do a good, thorough investigation, if you do one, if you are helping somebody, sometimes you need to know those answers to those questions. Yeah. Do they have any mental, issues? That's important to know, but it doesn't mean that what they're seeing or hearing isn't real. And they need to feel comfortable, telling you that.
Exactly.
Because you never know, and now the guy that kept calling me, there was a guy in Texas who has called almost every single team in the state. And he was a young guy with mental illness in his 20s. He wants someone to come out and investigate the house. And every once in a while, I have them on my phone. I never did block them or delete them so that I would just know and not answer. And but he had horses running through his house and leaving. He was in and out of institutions, and he lived with his parents, and he had serious issues. Horses running through and leaving water on the kitchen table. But he wanted a single, alone female investigator to come to the house to do an investigation when his parents were not there. And that's the biggest thing is don't go to an interview at somebody's house by yourself.
Mm-mm.
Because you're going into, it's like anything else, you're going into their territory and you don't know where you're going. And who knows? We all, so many talk, we all know about this guy. So, so far, nobody, we don't, nobody would go there, especially by themselves. And like me, I have to have the permission of the owner of the property, unless you're renting a house and it's different. But, I'm not going to go there in secret when the parents are away,
Right.
kind of thing. So
Exactly.
you have to watch. You have to watch. Yeah.
We tell everybody, keep an eye out for everybody, because things can happen quickly and turn quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's something you have no control over. You really have to pay attention to your surroundings and the people you're with.
Always. You never know. I went to an apartment that was an older government housing apartment, and the other person with me had been a deputy. And I think that's probably one of the few places that we've ever gone to armed, because it was very, low income, but it was also one of the big dope places. It was not a safe place to be. And we're going upstairs to this one apartment. We'd be cornered. We're dragging some cases up there. And that one we went quicker because she had a child. When kids were involved, I tend to work a little bit faster. And this lady just wanted out of her lease, and she was just trying all kinds of stuff. And she got mad at us because we wouldn't, we called her out on everything. And then a year later, she wants out of her lease at another place, in another town. And she calls me. It's like, why are you calling me? With the same story. We didn't go. We didn't go. And I think I did block her at that point.
What is your favorite piece of equipment to use when you're doing an investigation?
Me. Probably me.
We say the same thing.
Yeah, me. Yeah, me. Is probably that. And then after that is, I like to record things and video. I'm kind of went back to more of an old school. When I started doing investigations way back, I had my Sony 8mm. I had a recorder, a cassette recorder at the time. And I had my 35mm, and every once in a while I'd take a Polaroid with me. That's pretty much it. That's what I took. And I use apps now and then, but I use the apps more like you would use a portable breath test on the side of the road, just as another tool to see if somebody's drunk. And right. And I'll use, although there is one app that I have seen work in a very interesting way. And it's a free app. When you go to this, go on and get it. And it's using the word I hate using. I don't ghost hunt. I'm an investigator, so I don't like to say I'm going ghost hunting. I don't need to hunt. Exactly. I did that when I was in law enforcement. I'd fish and hunt when I was on patrol every day. And I had my little spots. But it has the hand like that, and it's kind of green around it. It's called Ghost Hunting Tools, and it's free. I take that one. I turn the sound down when I do if I'm interviewing, and I just set it down where the person doesn't even know there's anything on. And I have had really interesting responses on that one. And what really keyed me to using that sometimes is a friend and I were up in Oklahoma. We were at a cemetery, and as we were on our way out, she tripped over a headstone she didn't see that was mostly buried in the ground, and she just had that app open. And as she tripped over that headstone, the name from the headstone came across that app. the exact name. Now, nobody said anything. Nobody had been out there where it could record, someone had mentioned that name or anything while we were there. So I've had those kind of responses pop up. The first time we went over to the captain with the sheriff's department to his house, Vicki and I both had the apps open, and we just left it while we were doing the interviewing about his house. That was the first time we went to his house, and he was in the process of, of remodeling it. And after the names popped up and the different things that we had, he was able to take that information, and he was able to locate the cemeteries of all the family members. Those were the names of family members of the man who built the house. Everything that we had tied together. And so what he ended up doing was he downloaded that app, and when he'd go in to work on the house, he would just open it and set it down and forget about it. And, but he would also tell the man who built the house.
Dead space, dead silence. Well, hopefully we haven't lost her completely, and she'll get to come back. Oh, wait. Hello?
Yeah.
We'll see here. There she is. She's back.
Okay.
I don't know if you can hear me yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go.
You.
It's raining a little harder out here, but there's tornadoes around Dallas, but I'm not near there. I'm 60 miles from there. But he would put that app up there, and then he found all sorts of information from what we had done that allowed him to go track and find out that the house had been moved there. And he actually got a hold of the great-granddaughter of the man who built the house. I think it was a great-granddaughter. It could have been granddaughter, but she is actually a New York Pulitzer Prize-winning author, and she had even written about that house and some of the history at one time. So he would get interesting feedback when he'd go back after he's done for the day and look at what was on there. But there was this one day where...
Oh.
Lost her again.
She said the storms disrupt everything,
Yeah.
so...
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. As long as I don't get blown away.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want that to happen.
I haven't had any... The wind up. Well, I guess you can see if the wind starts going crazy because out of the window in the back. But so one day he went over there, and he has had some health issues, and it said, "Walt, are you okay?" And he didn't see that. He didn't pay attention. And then he must have had the sound turned up, because he heard his full name, not his nickname, but his full name. It said, "Walter, are you okay?" On the app. And it's not like he talked about health with that app open or anything. And no, he was having some medical issues at the time, and had to go to the hospital.
Oh my.
So the man who built the house took a liking to him. But so that app is interesting. I started using and kind of fooling around with the one of the latest ones called Spirit Talker. But it's like everybody's using that now. I think that one is like $1 or something to buy. But it's the same as, all of the other apps like that. It's just it doesn't have that white noise background that's going, so you have a hard time understanding what's being said.
Right.
And most of the time, it's like the others. It just, spits out sentences or phrases that don't make any sense. But I have seen that one interact really well. What gets my interest with those apps is if something is, when something comes across that nobody has mentioned, and but then all of a sudden somebody does. We were with the ghost hunting one doing an interview with a lady, and then just out of the blue, It's a crazy place. Well, her place was a crazy place too. We did a partial investigation, and then I misplaced their contact information. They never called back. But everybody in the house was sick. They'd been there about 15 years. Nobody was really sick until they got to the place. It had been a number of things, including a mobile home park. There were about five or six structures on, several houses on the property. And so the mother is telling us something, and before we even get to say anything, Vicki gets across her app starts getting some occult stuff, occult, warlock, and so on. And she starts talking about her. Like I said, this is silent. Nobody hears. Nobody even knows what we're doing. That we've got that going. She starts talking about her ex-husband who dabbled in the dark arts and sometimes would show up. Like, where did that come from? So I just keep an open mind about a lot of things. EM pumps, and I mean, there's things that, because we don't know how a lot of this stuff works when we're dealing with the paranormal, I tend to just keep an open mind on everything. I won't just totally shut down on something. But a lot of it I might use as a tool to kind of guide me to look another direction. But I may or may not show it to somebody if I'm doing an investigation for a family.
Right.
Yeah.
Kathy has a question. What is the first question or thing you say when you go into a new place?
What was it? I all of a sudden I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
Kathy has a question. What is the first question or thing you say when you enter into a new place?
Okay. I don't know why I can't hear you now. I can hear Kathy has a question. I've got my sound turned up all the way.
There's your question.
Okay, come on. Hello. Where'd you get?
Oh. All righty. We haven't had anything like this in a long time, though. Not a long time. Anyway, we'll do right quick. Next week, I will be gone. I'm leaving on the 23rd. I'll be in South Carolina with Brandon Cooper at his Paracon. And then after that, I will be with him and a few other teams on an 8-day investigation, which I'll stay there for 5. Next week will be pre-recorded. Catherine Soleros, our friend from Greece, has done an amazing interview. But I'm not going to say anything because you'll need to watch it. It'll be great. Dave and Kandi will be there. Kandi will answer any of the comments or questions that come in. If I get a chance, I'll pop in. But I don't know on how well the reception or anything's going to be where we're going to be at those couple weeks. So I wanted to throw that in there right quick. But I will be back. I promise. There she is.
Yeah, it's the ghost. And you know what's funny? When I disappeared, my sound was turned down, and I had checked and it was up all the way. So maybe it was the ghost. So what was the question?
What is the first question or thing you say in a new place?
Oh gosh. There's not a specific thing that I say when I go in. Or depending on where it is, it might be, where's the bathroom?
Good question.
It depends on where it depends on where I am, because if I'm dealing with a family at their house or their business, one of the first things that I do, because I do the interviews first before I ever do an investigation, I do an interview. But while I'm interviewing them, I've got a video camera going, and I'm recording them too, audio. Because then I'll go back and I'll review that if needed. Sometimes we don't have to do that. Sometimes we've already figured it out. But the first thing we do is, because they're people we don't really know, is to kind of build the rapport with them, and that's really important to be able to get good. Uh-oh.
Got hail?
Hail, no. This is a brand new travel trailer. Brand new. We haven't even taken it out. So
Oh my goodness.
no. So hopefully they're little. Yesterday they said that we could experience up to egg-sized hail. So
Oh my gosh.
I know. And this,
No thanks.
yeah, I know this thing we've got too. Gosh. And I can't leave to go to. It's too far to go to the front door. I'm stuck in here, unless I hear a tornado warning. Then I'm running through the rain and everything. But I'm trapped in here till it calms down. But I will tell you, I have done. I've been coming out here since we got this, probably since the summer, to do interviews the majority of the time. And I know there was one I was doing. We were here when we were talking about Hill House. We started hearing knocks. They could hear, the people that were listening in could hear knocks going on in here that were coming from, and there was like nobody around. I think I was the only one even at the, here. I don't think that my husband was here, and we were hearing knocks. It's like, oh, okay. You want to chime in? Not twice if you want us to talk about you. So, but this isn't Knox. This is Tail. This is my truck. No. We're going to trade the truck in. No hail damage. We do need a new roof, but let me move the camper first.
That's how I got my new roof.
It's time for a roof, but right after we bought this house, same thing happened to us, but we've been here for like 33 years, so yeah, it's time for a new roof, but I don't want to mess up my truck or this camper.
I don't
I have 90,000 miles on the truck, and it's time to trade it in this year for another one. And so we can take this puppy on the road. And when we do, I will tell you, there's one place that I have been that I don't know. I would talk. Well, it's more of a metaphysical time that is amazing. It's an amazing place out in New Mexico. It's northwest of Albuquerque. And it's Chaco Canyon. It's a national park, but the Chaco Canyon covers at least probably 200 square miles, and it is the most amazing place. You have to go about 20 miles down a dirt road to get to the national park, and it's another 22 to get out a dirt road that's a state highway that you get to the paved highway. To the closest place you can stay. And that has Pueblo Bonito. I bet you heard that.
Yeah, we did.
And you can see some other ruins, but you can actually go into Pueblo Bonito, and that has the largest kiva in the world, and they have over 100 circular rooms in this within this structure that they have no idea what they were used for, but you have access to the whole place. What has it? I think a wall, like canyon wall or something, collapsed and took out some of it a few years back. And then we stayed about 2 miles outside of the once you got out onto the paved road. It's called Outlier Cabins. And I mean, it's the only place, and there's very small camping that's in the canyon, in the park. And that whole area, it like literally like you could just feel vibrations in that whole area. I was like, it was insane. You get those like little, almost like time slips or things. Whoa.
It's getting real dark out.
Oh boy.
That one shook, it shook the camper. That one I saw the reflection. So I guess it was either behind our house or back there where you saw it. So this whole thing shook with that boom. But that's a place that was just absolutely amazing. I would go there before I would go to like to Sedona or somewhere like that. I mean, I can't wait to go back because I didn't get to spend enough time in that, in the park. But anybody can go there, and that's just awesome to go to. So
That
I like storms, but I still kind of want to know what's going on behind me. So,
I don't blame you.
or I mean, yeah, if you see the trees waving crazy, let me know.
I definitely will.
So,
We got just about 7 minutes
I
left.
Don't meet. Yeah, hopefully I won't meet Dorothy and Toto today.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Well, at
We
least
did
you
put a
get to
link-
ride the storm out with me.
Because now I can hear it raining.
Yeah.
I can hear it.
The hail's back.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. We have put a
It's
link to your
good
site.
spring East Texas storm. Okay.
We'll be getting those pretty soon. Yeah, we
Oh.
put it on our website. A link to get to your website and where to find your book. And also on our website, if you go to authors, you just click on Martha's name and it'll take you right to where you need to go. That's the new feature that
That's
Dave come up with
super.
all the authors on there. So that's fantastic. Man,
I appreciate that too.
you're very welcome. I can't wait to read the book.
I appreciate you
ordered
having
it.
me on too.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you for being on.
Yes, absolutely. This has been fun, and
Sure.
I'd love to have you back again because we've only scratched the surface of.
Sounds good to me.
That'd be fantastic.
Anytime.
Let's see.
And
Great.
hopefully, this year I'll have Paranormal Profiling 2 coming out, the advanced paranormal profiling, and hopefully the murder book will be out too this year.
Oh, that'd
Hopefully
be great.
both of them by the fall.
Fantastic.
So-
Yeah, and
Yeah.
You can watch for that.
that'll link.
Yeah, because the
As soon as that comes
Paranormal 2, I hope to have that one. I hope to have that one done sometime this summer. There's just a few little touches I have to do on that. And that one is an advanced to how to, interview people, look for signs of deception. And that covers mental illnesses and investigating, or interviewing the people. And most important, how to interview children. And they learn how to interview them with open-ended questions, and and look for like authenticate, truth, and lie with them, and so on. Get all that stuff. So all that is going to be added into the advanced version.
Wow, what a fantastic book. That's going to be awesome. Everybody should get it. I'm going to tell you that right now. If you're going to go out and do this kind of stuff, this is stuff
Yeah,
that,
don't get
like
the
you
one
said, educate
Don't get
yourself.
the first paranormal profiling. Wait for the 2 to come out and get that. Exactly. There's some teams that have the first one, and they make their new members read it before they investigate. because it's basic. All that basic will be in there, but that publisher is in copyright violation right now. We've been out of contract about 4 years, and they're out of business. But I can't get it off Amazon, so everything in that and more will be in the advanced, copy.
Okay. Fantastic. That's I'll wait because I definitely am going to get that one too. Well, I try to get everybody's, and now that you've got two that you're talking about, so that's even better.
Yeah.
My library will keep expanding then. Maybe someday I'll finish my book.
Well, that one.
I don't know.
Oh, you can do it. The other good one is by Greg Lost, and it is called Detecting the Paranormal. And the books kind of complement each other.
Fantastic. Well, we're almost out of time. And hopefully
As I
the storm doesn't get
away.
any worse.
Yeah, as soon as it slows down, I'm out of here and into the house.
I want to thank you again for being on the show. It was an honor having you here. I can't wait to have you back again. I can't wait for get your books either. And I will write you a fantastic review, I promise. And I will put that out everywhere.
Thank you. And I appreciate it. And I can't wait to be on again without a storm.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Definitely. I'm going to end the program like I always do. I want to thank everybody for the comments and who watched the show with us. We appreciate you more than you'll ever know. You've made it a great program for us. We love bringing it to everybody, and I hope it's fun and everybody learns something. I do every week anyway. Makes me,
Never
I
stop
get mentors
learning.
every week. Exactly. So as I close everything out, as usual, peace to everybody. Remember, a smile and a hug go a long ways. So remember that. And as always, be safe, and we love you.